So I was working at this hospital called Warren General in Warren, Pennsylvania, about 90 minutes east of Erie, Pennsylvania. I work night shift. I'm a traveling RN, so this is one of the hospitals I traveled to. One night, my floor was slow, so I got pulled down to the CCU to work. Well, that night, my patient rang her call bell at 3 o'clock in the morning. She asked me, "What does she want?" I said, "Who do you mean?" She said, "The nurse that keeps coming in here and standing there in that corner," and she points to the corner behind the door. So I was like, "Who, Ashley?" The nurse I was working with, and I pointed to her. She was sitting at the nurse's station on the computer, and the lady says, "No, the other one." Well, there was no other one. It was just us two. And just FYI, the patient was a woman in her 50s and didn't have a history of mental illness and was not taking any meds that would make her hallucinate. So I kinda laughed and I was like, "It's just us." And she just stares at me. So I say, "Okay, if she does it again, just yell for me and I'll come right in." Her room was 8 feet in front of the nurse's station. So about a half hour goes by and she yells, "See, there you go again." I got up, started walking. I hear the bathroom door shut. It had been cracked open just a little bit to give her dark room a little light. I walk in and I say, "See, you're dreaming. There's no one else here." She says, "No, she went into the bathroom." So I open the door, light still on, no one in there. Looking confused, I say, "What does she look like?" Because I thought someone might be messing around. It's too dark to tell. I can tell it's a woman, but she's so dark I can't really make her face out. So when she says that, I get a little weirded out, but the night ends and I forget about it. 3 months go by. I get pulled back down to the same unit. I have the same room as before. This time, a man in his early 60s is the patient. Nice guy, alert and orientated and very polite. Night is going good. It's about 3 a.m. and his call light goes off, which means he needs something. So I walk in and he says to me, "You're my nurse, right?" And I shake my head yes, and he says, "Well, why does that lady keep coming in here and standing in the corner? What is she doing?" What? I almost shit myself instantly. This was 3 months later, same room, same thing. I said to him, "Honestly, I think it's a ghost, sir." And he laughs and I say, "You're not the first one to say that." I started telling everyone about it, and then I find out that the entire second floor has a nurse that's seen every once in a while. I guess in the 1990s, a nurse who worked up there committed suicide. She shot herself in the second floor bathroom, stressed out. About 10 years ago, I was home for Christmas with my parents and siblings. It was Christmas morning and we were finishing up opening gifts. One of the very last presents left under the tree was a small box all the way at the base of the tree by the tree stand. One of us pulled it out. It was addressed to my brother. It had the same wrapping paper as many of the other gifts, but the wrapping job was messy and it didn't have a tag. Only his name written in black marker in a large messy handwriting that didn't look like any of ours. We didn't think much of it, and he opened the gift. We were all puzzled to see it was just a cheap plastic clock from a local bank. It looked like free swag. He asked who it was from, since it clearly came from inside our own house. Remember the matching wrapping paper. Everyone denied that they had done it, and the mood shifted from playful to unnerved as we started questioning each other harder and downright accusing one another of forgetting, lying, or just taking a very dumb joke too far. We were starting to get creeped out because everyone seemed to be telling the truth. We tried to make a few jokes about not putting that cursed clock in anyone's room, but we were a little on edge. Over the next few days, we kept revisiting the topic and trying new ways to catch each other lying about being the mysterious clock gifter. Then one day, I was sitting in the living room with my brother as he inspected the clock closer. He took off the battery cover and discovered a scrap of paper wrapped around the batteries. We got so excited to find a clue. He unfolded it, and sure enough, there was a note. In that same messy handwriting, we saw the message, "Thank you for the home. I watch when you are gone." We went wild and called everyone to come see it. The accusation started flying again. Still, everyone denied it. We checked the whole house, but found no one, nothing out of place. I wish I had a better end to this story, but we never found out who left that note and put the gift under our tree. To this day, we still talk about it and wish we had answers. The clock is long gone. No one seems to know what happened to it. I don't know if this was paranormal or a home invasion, but we did always hear noises in that house.
This happened about 4 years ago while I was hunting in the mountains of northeast US. There was fresh snow on the ground, and there was supposed to be flurries later in the afternoon. It was a great day to be out, until the flurries came. It wasn't flurries, it was a whiteout, and I couldn't see about 10 yards in front of me. I start making my way towards what I thought was the direction to a large pack of dense pine trees to the east of me, but I can't see. I was wrong, and at this point, I'm lost in a snowstorm. And it's almost dark. I reach in my bag to pull out my flashlight, and it's dead. I look for my spare batteries, and I forgot to pack my batteries. At this point, I'm panicking a bit. I don't know where I'm at, and I'm starting to not be able to see. So I figured the guys back at the cabin would start to search for me at around 9:30 p.m. It was around 8:45 p.m., and I figured I'm gonna build a fire so they can see me when they come. Everything was wet, so it took forever to start a fire, but I got one lit. I sat there until 1:30 a.m. and realized that I was nowhere near where I went hunting and the guys couldn't find me. I'm panicking now because I don't have the proper gear to be out all night. The temperature is dropping rapidly, and even with my hunting gear in a fire, I'm cold. And just when I think all hope is lost, I see a dim little light in the distance, and it's moving away from me. I quickly put out my fire and start heading towards this light, assuming it's another hunter walking out on a trail. This light is about 400 yards from where I'm at. I walk and walk and walk for about 2 hours, and I've realized I've been following this light, but there are no tracks on the ground, just pure white snow. As a desperate chance to get this guy to slow down, I yell out, "Hey, I'm lost. Could you slow down?" No answer. I continued to follow this light until it stopped about 150 yards in front of me. I kept walking, and the closer that I got, the brighter the light got. I was about 30 yards away, and I said, "Hey man, that light is damn bright. Could you turn it off?" The light went out, and no one was standing there, and the road in my vehicle was right there. Was this a guardian angel? Or someone that had gotten lost and didn't get so lucky?
I have had many experiences with spirits. This is one of them. This happened a long time ago when I was still in school. One day, while I was in class, I had to go to the bathroom. When I walked into the bathroom, I could tell no one was in there because all the stall doors were opened. I went to the stall at the very end. While I was doing my business, I heard crying. I was super confused at first because I thought no one else was in there. I looked under the stalls, which I know is kinda creepy. When I looked, I saw someone's feet a few stalls down from mine. They weren't wearing shoes, and their skin was more of like a blue color. Then I saw them walking out of the stall, continuing to cry. Even though I wasn't finished what I was doing, I quickly pulled up my pants and walked out of the stall, mostly because I was scared, but I also wanted to make sure that the person was okay. When I got out of the stall, no one was there. I know no one left or came in, because the door to the bathroom was very squeaky and loud. I was so scared that I couldn't even go back into the stall to finish. I quickly washed my hands and left. In my school, there's a locker that has a memorial on it of someone who died. To this day, I still wonder if that was the same person I saw in the bathroom, or someone else. I still wonder what that spirit was crying about, and genuinely hope that they're okay and have moved on. I'm a 40-year-old married father of 3 great kids. I've not had any encounters with the paranormal in the past and am, until now, a skeptic. We've recently moved to the UK into a pretty house in an area we love. On one of the first nights in the new place, I woke to see a tall man standing at my wife's side of the bed staring down at us. It was so real that I honestly thought someone had broken into the place, but oddly, I just stared back in total confusion, unable or unwilling to say anything for what felt like a couple of minutes, though was probably much less, before he disappeared. I've since heard footsteps upstairs when no one else is home, seen figures walking into rooms, as if just turning the corner into the room when I see them. The last time it happened, I followed it into the room talking to it, annoyed thinking that it was my wife and she was ignoring my question, only to find the room empty and my wife downstairs. Outside of the time of these occurrences happening, I haven't really thought much about it, easily dismissing it as nothing, and I haven't talked about it with anyone in any sort of detail. However, earlier this morning, my son came running into my room, saying he saw a tall monster with long fingernails and toenails and a long tongue that was trying to taste him. He has never said anything like this before and is never afraid to be on his own. I've also never mentioned any details or even anything about what I saw to him, or anyone else for that matter. To top it off, as I'm writing this, I've literally just had a knock at my bedroom door and the door swing open, and no one outside of it, or even on the second floor of the house. Does anyone know anything about anything like this? So a few years ago, me and a buddy from the army decided to meet up and catch up. We decided on the date and place, and after several hours at the local pub, it was around 1 a.m. We had 3 beers each and decided to go pay our respects to a friend of ours who died a few years ago and was with us in the army. We bought a bottle of our friend's favorite booze and drove towards the graveyard. When we got there and started walking towards the gate, we both saw someone standing there. As we got closer, I could definitely recognize the friend we were going to visit at the graveyard. He was standing there in his uniform, holding a rifle, and was waving at us to come closer. I was freaked out by what I was seeing, so I just turned to my friend and looked at him and asked him if he was seeing what I was seeing. He was so shocked he couldn't even talk and was just nodding his head with mouth open. So we backed away slowly and went back to the car and drove away as fast as we could from there. Where I'm from, they say never go close if you see the dead calling you over, but ever since that day I keep hearing someone calling my name behind me when I'm all alone. At first, I thought it was my wife messing with me, but it's not possible because it's a male voice. I'm really freaking out. A few times I left my phone recording all night on a power pack to prove to my wife that I'm not going insane, but every time there's zero evidence, just static and me and my wife snoring. I asked my friend who was with me if he had been experiencing the same stuff, and he has. Anyone have any experience with this or know what's going on? And I'm confused why the dead friend would be in a uniform and holding a rifle. He died from leukemia a few years ago and not during the war. To preface this, I'm an avid hiker/backpacker. Most of the time I hike by myself and I sleep out in the woods alone. I have a good amount of time in the backcountry, and up until this, I would have never claimed to have experienced anything even remotely paranormal. Ticks are the real scary monsters. This past weekend, I set out for a solo hike in the Catskill Mountains in New York. When I arrived at the trailhead, 2 other hikers, not together, also pulled up. This area has no marked trails, so any landmark worth getting to is technically a bushwhack. After some friendly salutation, the 3 of us established we had generally similar itineraries and decided to head up to the highland together. Eventually, one of the guys fell behind, and after waiting for a bit, the other gentleman, who we'll call New Hike Bro, and I figured he changed his plans, and so we pushed on. We summited 2 peaks together and then decided to extend the trip a bit in search of an 80-year-old plane crash that is situated in a very rugged area in between the ridgelines of the peaks we bagged. After some more heavier bushwhacking, we found the wreck. I knew that people had died in the crash, but I've read about a number of plane crashes in the Catskills, and at the time, I didn't remember the exact details of this particular relic. I just knew it was there. It's certainly a somber experience when you happen on any place you know somebody took their last breath, especially in such a violent way. But besides just a general feeling of sympathy and melancholy, I can't say I felt any sort of eerie vibes. It was a beautiful day, and the post-hike beer was the next waypoint. New Hike Bro and I silently walked around the wreck taking pictures/videos and being careful not to touch anything. Our individual wanderings had put us about 25 to 30 yards away from each other, and in between us was a water drainage, so we couldn't really hear each other even if we wanted to talk. We explored in continued silence for about 20 minutes when I closed my camera. As soon as my viewfinder snapped into the camera body, I heard a deep male voice that did not sound like New Hike Bro say, "Nice shot." The best way I can describe the timbre of the voice was like a compressed, amplified whisper, almost like Christian Bale's Batman, but with more tonal quality and with sort of a digital texture to it. It sounded close, but also like it was in surround sound. The woods can do some really funky things with sound, all very rooted in good old-fashioned science, especially when we're on the side of a mountain in between 2 ridge lines and next to a drainage. I just assumed it was somebody and looked up from the direction I thought it came, half expecting to see the other hiker we had been separated from earlier. We had discussed the plane crash on our way up, so I thought it was him just being cute. He wasn't there. Nobody else was either in any direction. New Hike Bro was down the ridge a bit, and he was busy framing a shot, by now about 40 yards away from me. I made my way to him and asked if he had said something. He had not. To be honest, the creepy still didn't set in for about another 20 minutes. I just figured it was someone's voice carrying from somewhere up the ridgeline above us. But as we made our way back to the more established herd path, the more I thought about it, the more the creep creeped in. I distinctively heard, "Nice shot." I would swear by it to anyone on anything. As we got back to easier ground, New Hike Bro filled me in on the specific details of the plane crash. 3 souls on board for military training missing post-World War II. They went off course in bad weather. 2 of their remains were found. 1 never was. I never shared what I heard with New Hike Bro. I don't think anyone wants to walk out of the woods with a total stranger spewing ghost stories in real time. Honestly, I still feel like there's gotta be an explanation, but I just can't get over the "nice shot" part, especially right as I closed my camera. I have lots of ghost stories, but I'll begin with this one. So my parents live in a notorious haunted location, and I lived in their house for about 16 years. Every day there was something happening, but I'll just keep to the most spooky things and the most common. I was 8 when we moved in, and I got the second to biggest room in the house. Straight off the bat, it started to smell of pipe tobacco in my room, and nobody was smoking in the house. Odd, I thought to myself, but made nothing of it. Soon after, the running began. So much running. We had a hallway on the second floor connecting all the bedrooms, and small feet would run back and forth and stop at the staircase leading to the living room. This happened daily and still do to this day. I just ignored it and thought it was the house settling. A little while later, we got some dogs, and the dogs wouldn't stop barking at my door, all times of the day. So much barking, but nobody was inside. Soon after, the scratching on the walls began. Every night, there would be sounds like fingernails running down the walls, and nothing could stop it. So my family and I don't typically believe in anything supernatural, so we didn't really speak about this for years. Fast forward a couple of years, a new thing shows up. This thing was way more aggressive. Suddenly, shadows started shooting around the living room, hallway, and some seen floating up the stairs. This thing never stopped. We would also feel like we were being watched, but when trying to find anyone watching, there was no one. Fast forward a couple of years, with all these things happening on a daily basis. Whatever was lurking wasn't done cranking it up. One night, we all woke up to a massive crash. We all stormed out into the hallway and saw our big 200-year-old oak wardrobe was not only knocked over, but completely destroyed. This thing was about 150 kilograms, and moving it was a nightmare that required many hands. The following day, we sat down in disbelief, and we finally spoke about the stuff as a family and compared notes. We all noticed the same things over the years, and for some reason, it kind of died down for a little while, and we all could breathe a bit easier. But then it came back tenfold. We tried to find out why it's so haunted, and other than the prison that is located nearby, we found out that the owner before my parents was butchering animals in the living room. This is not a farmhouse, it's located in town, so that was very odd. We removed the carpets one day, and in the middle of the room, there was a massive red stain that we couldn't remove. Time comes for me to move out. My dad is a very handy man and knows what he's doing. He was renovating my room and put up a shelf and locked the door so the dogs wouldn't be running around in there. Suddenly, there was a big crash and my dad ran out of there. The shelf was torn out of the wall with such force it tore the wood out with it and broke the wall. I mean, it could have been decay, but I highly doubt that. He put the shelves somewhere else and it was all fine. To this day, my parents still live there, and they have come to peace with the weird stuff happening. And I jokingly asked them if the kids have been running in the hallways, and yes, they do. Every day. So this is about 10% of what happened, and I didn't expect it to be this long. I may post more stuff if anyone requests it. As a side note, the area the house is located in is downhill from an old prison, and it's known by the city that a lot of people who died and or got executed by the prison got thrown into the swamp, which the houses, including my family's house, got built on.